Hi, I'm Neil. I always thought my marriage to Vanessa was perfect. Steady income, nice house in the suburbs, weekend brunches with friends. I never expected to find myself sitting across from her in a courtroom, fighting over the life we'd built together for 8 years. You look tired, honey. Late night at the office again? Vanessa asked one evening, her voice carrying that musical quality that had first attracted me to her. I hung my jacket carefully, avoiding her eyes. The Henderson project is wrapping up. You know how it is. She hummed, stirring something on the stove that smelled amazing. Marcus called earlier, said he tried reaching you at work, but you weren't at your desk. Meetings all day, I replied quickly. What's for dinner? Vanessa turned, wooden spoon in hand. That's the third time this week you've been unreachable during meetings. What's really going on, Neil? Nothing's going on. Work is just intense right now. Look me in the eyes and say that, she challenged, setting down the spoon. I met her gaze. Nothing is going on, Vanessa, I promise. She sighed, shoulders slumping. I want to believe you. Then believe me, I said, reaching for her hand. That night, lying beside her, I couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan spun lazily above me, hypnotic in its repetition. You know what your problem is? Vanessa had said during our first date. You're too honest. I can see everything you're thinking right on your face. She was right. I couldn't hide anything, which was why the weight of what I was keeping from her felt so crushing. 3 weeks later, my best friend Tony called me during lunch. Hey man, you free to grab a drink after work? His voice sounded off. Sure, what's up? Just need to talk to you about something. Chandler's at 7? When I arrived, Tony was already nursing a beer, another waiting for me. You look like someone died, I joked, sliding into the booth. Tony didn't smile. Neil, man, there's no easy way to say this. Say what? I saw Vanessa yesterday at the Westbrook Hotel. I took a swig of beer. Business meeting, probably. She mentioned she had clients in from Chicago. Tony shook his head slowly. She was with Richard Dalton. My hand froze midair. Richard was my supervisor, married with 3 kids. They were intimate, Neil. I'm sorry. You're mistaken, I said automatically. Vanessa wouldn't. I took pictures, Tony interrupted, sliding his phone across the table. I didn't want to, but I knew you wouldn't believe me otherwise. The images were unmistakable. Vanessa and Richard entering a hotel room, his hand on the small of her back. Another of them in the hotel restaurant, fingers intertwined across the table. How long have you known? I asked, my voice hollow. This was the first time I saw anything, Tony said, but afterward I asked around. Melissa from accounting says they've been meeting for lunches for at least 6 months. 6 months, I echoed, half a year of lies. What are you going to do? Tony asked. I stared at the images until they blurred. I need to be smart about this. You're not thinking of staying with her? No, I said, my voice suddenly clear. I'm thinking of making sure she doesn't walk away with half my life after destroying it. Tony leaned forward. What do you need me to do? For now, keep these pictures safe and help me figure out who else knows. I'm with you, Tony said, clapping my shoulder. Whatever it takes. This whole time, I whispered, she's been acting like I'm the one with secrets. That's how cheaters operate, Tony replied. They project their guilt onto you. I took a deep breath, the betrayal crystallizing into something harder. She's going to regret this. Just be careful, Tony warned. Vanessa can be ruthless when cornered. So can I replied, surprising myself with the coldness in my voice. She just doesn't know it yet. The next day I called in sick to work. I couldn't face Richard knowing what I now knew. Instead, I met with Melissa from accounting at a coffee shop across town. I shouldn't be talking to you about this, she said nervously, glancing around the nearly empty cafe. I appreciate you meeting me, I said. I just need to understand what's been happening. Melissa fidgeted with her cup. It started with little things, long lunches, inside jokes, the way they'd stop talking when others entered the room. And no one thought to tell me? Richard's the boss, Neil, and honestly, most people assumed you knew that maybe you had an arrangement. An arrangement, I repeated flatly. I'm sorry, office gossip is terrible. For what it's worth, Cynthia and HR confronted Richard about it last month. What happened? He denied everything, of course. Then Cynthia got moved to the Albany office. I winced. Convenient timing. Look, Melissa said, leaning forward. If you're planning something, be careful. Richard has friends in high places, and Vanessa, she's been telling people things. What things? That you've been violent, that she's afraid of you. I nearly knocked over my coffee. What? That's completely false. I know, Melissa said quickly. Everyone who knows you knows that's not true. But she's laying groundwork, Neil. Later that afternoon, I met with our mutual friend Gabriella, who had always been closer to Vanessa. I can't believe I'm doing this, Gabriella said as we walked through the park. Vanessa would kill me. I need to know what she's told you, Gabby. Gabriella sighed. She said your marriage has been over for years, that you're emotionally distant and controlling, that you track her movements and check her phone. I stopped walking. That's absurd. I've never once checked her phone. I know that doesn't sound like you, Gabriella admitted. But Neil, she cried when she told me. She seemed genuinely afraid. She's setting me up, I realized aloud. She's creating a narrative. For what? The divorce she's planning, I said. She wants to make me look like the villain. Gabriella looked troubled. You really think she'd go that far? I don't know what to think anymore. As we continued walking, Gabriella hesitated, then said, There's something else. She asked me if I would testify for her if needed. Testify to what? That I'd seen bruises, that she'd confided in me about abuse. My blood ran cold. And what did you say? I told her I couldn't lie in court, Neil. That's when she got angry and said I was choosing sides. Thank you for telling me the truth. What are you going to do? Document everything, I said, and talk to a lawyer. My final conversation that day was with Richard's wife, Andrea, who agreed to meet me at a diner out of town. I've suspected for months, Andrea said, her eyes red-rimmed, but her voice steady. Richard changed his passwords, started working late, bought new clothes. I'm sorry to bring this to you, I said. Don't be, I needed to know. She pushed a flash drive across the table. Bank statements, hotel charges, text messages I recovered from our shared cloud account. Why are you helping me? Andrea's eyes hardened. Because Richard told me I was crazy, paranoid, unstable. He made me doubt my own sanity while he was sleeping with your wife. And because Vanessa came to our home, sat at my table, and smiled in my face while sleeping with my husband. I'm filing for divorce, I told her. So am I, Andrea replied. And Neil, Richard has a temper. Be prepared for him to lash out. That evening, I met Tony again, this time at his apartment where we could speak freely. So what's the plan? He asked after I filled him in. I've spoken with a lawyer, I said. We're filing first thing tomorrow. He says we need to document the affair thoroughly and counter any false abuse claims immediately. You think she'll actually claim abuse in court? She's already laying the groundwork with our friends. She doesn't know that I know. Tony looked worried. What about Richard? If he thinks you're threatening his marriage, his job? That's why I need witnesses, I explained. People who can testify to my character and to their affair. Count me in, Tony said without hesitation. What else? I hesitated, then rolled up my sleeve, revealing ugly bruises in various stages of healing. Tony's eyes widened. What the hell happened to you? Vanessa happened, I said quietly. When I confronted her about her late nights 2 weeks ago, she threw a glass vase at me. There are more marks on my back and chest. Have you documented these? I nodded. Photos, dated, medical records too. I told the doctor I fell downstairs. Why didn't you tell me? Tony demanded. Because I was ashamed, I admitted. And because I didn't want to believe my marriage had come to this. We need these photos for court, Tony said firmly. I know, I replied, and I'm prepared to show much more than photos if necessary. The mediation session was tense from the start. Vanessa sat across from me, her lawyer by her side, wearing an expression of practiced innocence. Mrs. Bennett, my attorney began, we have evidence of your affair with Richard Dalton, Mr. Bennett's supervisor. Alleged affair, Vanessa's lawyer corrected. My client denies these accusations. We have photographic evidence and witness testimony, my lawyer continued. Vanessa's lawyer leaned forward. What we have are concerns about Mr. Bennett's controlling behavior, which created a hostile home environment. That's a lie, I said, unable to stay silent. Vanessa's smirk grew. Tell them about how you tracked my phone, Neil, how you questioned my every move. I never did that, and you know it. Furthermore, my lawyer interjected, we have evidence suggesting Mrs. Bennett has been physically abusive toward my client. Vanessa's face darkened. That's absurd. He's lying. We have medical records and dated photographs, my lawyer said, sliding a folder across the table. These could be from anything, Vanessa's lawyer dismissed. An accident. I don't play sports, I replied, and these were no accident. You expect anyone to believe I could physically harm you? Vanessa scoffed. Look at you and look at me. The mediator sighed. Given these contradictory claims, this case will need to proceed to court. 2 weeks later, in the courtroom, Vanessa wove a compelling tale of fear and control, her performance masterful with carefully timed voice breaks. "And did you ever seek help, Mrs. Bennett?" her lawyer asked. "I was too afraid," she answered. "Neil always said no one would believe me." When my turn came, I recounted the discovery of her affair, the gaslighting, and finally the violence. Our witnesses testified one by one, Tony about discovering the affair. Gabriella reluctantly admitted that Vanessa had asked her to lie. Andrea Dalton testified about the explicit text messages between Richard and Vanessa. Richard took the stand and denied everything. These allegations are simply an extension of his deteriorating mental state. Vanessa actually laughed at this, a short, scornful sound that echoed in the courtroom. That laugh changed something in me. I stood up. "Mr. Bennett," the judge warned, "sit down immediately." "Your Honor," I said, my voice steady, "I request permission to submit additional evidence." "What evidence?" the judge asked. "Evidence on my person, Your Honor." Before anyone could stop me, I removed my suit jacket and began unbuttoning my shirt. "What is he doing?" Vanessa hissed. "Mr. Bennett," the judge exclaimed, "this is highly irregular." "Please, Your Honor," I said. "This is relevant evidence that couldn't be adequately documented in photographs." I removed my shirt completely, turning slowly to show the court my back and chest. The courtroom went completely silent. Across my torso were dozens of bruises, burns, and half-healed cuts in various stages of healing. Some clearly showed the outline of hands or fingernails. One burn on my shoulder was perfectly circular, the size of a cigarette tip. "Neil, what have you done to yourself?" Vanessa blurted, her mask slipping. "I didn't do this to myself, Vanessa," I replied calmly. "You did. Whenever you were angry, whenever I questioned your late nights." Vanessa stood, face contorted with rage. "He's lying. He did that to himself. He's crazy." "Mrs. Bennett," the judge snapped, "control yourself." But Vanessa was beyond control. She lunged forward, pointing accusingly. "You planned this. I'll kill you for this, Neil. You'll regret this." Court officers moved quickly to restrain her as she continued shouting threats. And just like that, the truth was laid bare for everyone to see. 6 months after my courtroom revelation, the final divorce hearing arrived. Vanessa had been charged with domestic abuse but was out on bail pending trial. "Mrs. Bennett," the new judge began, "given the evidence presented and the pending criminal charges, this court finds in favor of Mr. Bennett. The division of assets will proceed according to the prenuptial agreement." After the ruling, Vanessa approached me in the hallway. "Neil, can we talk? Just for a minute?" Against my better judgment, I nodded. "I'm sorry," she said, voice trembling. "I wasn't myself. I've gotten help, therapy, anger management." I looked at her and felt nothing but pity. "What you did can't be fixed with an apology." "Everyone deserves a second chance," she insisted. "We had 8 years together before things went wrong. And 1 year of you hurting me. That's not something I can forgive." Her expression hardened slightly. "The criminal charges could put me in prison. You could speak to the prosecutor. Is that what this is about? You want me to drop the charges?" "I want to make amends," she said quickly. "But yes, your word would help my case." I shook my head. "The evidence speaks for itself, Vanessa. Everyone saw who you really are." Her facade cracked. "You humiliated me." "No," I corrected. "I showed the truth. You humiliated yourself." I walked away then, feeling lighter than I had in years. That evening, Tony and Gabriella joined me for dinner at my new apartment. "To freedom," Tony toasted, raising his glass. "And justice," Gabriella added. "I still can't believe everything she did." "Abusers are good at hiding," I said, "and Vanessa was better than most." "What happens now?" Gabriella asked. "I heal. I move on. Her trial is next month, but I don't have to be there if I don't want to." "Will you go?" Tony asked. "I don't think so. I've confronted my past. I don't need to keep looking back at it." "You've handled this with more grace than most people could manage," Gabriella said. "I had good friends," I replied, smiling at them both. That made all the difference. Later, I stood on my balcony looking out at the city lights. For the first time in years, I felt truly at peace. Not because of Vanessa's downfall, but because I had finally stood up for myself. I had shown my scars, literally and figuratively, and in doing so, had begun to heal them. I often wonder how many others suffer in silence as I did. How many hide their pain behind closed doors, afraid or ashamed to speak out. If my story helps even one person find the courage to seek help, then everything I endured had purpose. What would you do if someone you loved became someone you feared? Would you find the strength to walk away? To speak your truth? I hope you never have to answer these questions. But if you do, remember, your scars tell a story of survival, not shame.